Well, it's a cold one out there, folks. We've got snow breaking out again across portions of the southeast while the Arctic invades the lower 48. I'll have all the details plus a look at the long range, a word from a new sponsor, and today's trivia question. So grab your toboggans, wax your sleds, and put another log on the fire. A new episode of Cold Rain's Weather World starts right now. Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason Pritchard, your host of Cold Rain's Weather World, where we talk about current weather, upcoming weather, and interesting weather, and really anything in between. If you're new to the channel, thank you for joining us today. I'm so happy that you're here. Please consider subscribing to the channel and turning on the notifications for the channel by hitting the little notification bell. That way you'll get alerted when new episodes are dropped. Also hit the like button if you like the content, share it with family and friends, and leave a comment in the comment section. We take prayer requests here at Cold Rain's Weather World, so I want to pray for you and lift you up through whatever difficult time that you might be going through, and hopefully the community will do so as well. That's what we want to build here. But at the end of the day, leave a comment if you have a question about the show, a suggestion for the show, or a meteorological question or anything else. Just let me know in the comments. And so at Cold Rain's Weather World, we want to have fun and we want to talk about the weather, but we want to be a little educational as well, and we want to have some fun. So that's our goal here. With that, the agenda for today's fairly straightforward. We've got some snow breaking out across portions of the southeast and the mountains in the southeast, and we'll take a look at some of that, and then we'll look at how quiet the weather is going to be. It's been very, very busy, folks. So we've had alerts and warnings and snow and ice and wind and all severe weather for the past 2 weeks. Well, we're going to have a quiet period, except maybe for the Pacific Northwest. So we'll take a look at that. We'll end with a look at the long range. Plus, we have a word from a new sponsor, so you won't want to miss that. Now, with that, we're going to start with today's trivia question. Today's trivia question is brought to you by Almost There Shipping. If you want your shipping almost done right, choose Almost There Shipping. They were a sponsor the other day, so thank you, Almost There Shipping. Now, today's trivia question is, what is a haboob? Yeah, haboob. Shut up, Beavis. No. At Cold Rain's Weather World, we keep it PG, and it's not haboob, it's haboob, and a haboob is an official weather term. So what is a haboob? Is it a type of intense dust storm? B, a small tornado? C, a heat wave? Or D, a butte couplet? Not but, butte. So, if you know the answer, type it in the comment section. If not, that's okay. Nobody knows everything. We'll get to the end of the show and I will reveal the answer to us. So as I said earlier, some light snow is falling out there, some little pockets of heavier snow. You can see that showing up here on the radar screen. Some of this is very light, low in the atmosphere, so the radar doesn't pick it up all that well. This sort of formed on the lee side of the mountains as an upper level disturbance. We talked about this yesterday, where there was an upper level disturbance that was going to move in, maybe spark some light snow, some snow showers. And so we've had reports all up and down from northern South Carolina into Virginia of snowfall reaching the ground, and in some instances it's been pretty heavy. Where you see these darker shades, it's a little bit of heavier precipitation. It won't last long, but it will paint the ground for a little bit and maybe give you a dusting to maybe up to a ½ an inch, where these can persist a little bit longer. But this is moving on off toward Raleigh and maybe Columbia down here. Gets in on the action a little bit, maybe toward Fayetteville. You'll see some snowflakes falling, but don't get too excited. It's not going to be anything to write home about in terms of accumulations. It'll be pretty to see while it's falling down, and it could cause some slick spots on the roadways. I've seen some reports of traffic accidents in this area, so be careful if you're out driving around, and don't assume everyone sees you. Always pay attention and look in your mirrors when you drive around, and don't drive angry, as we learned from Groundhog Day. So with that said, this is going to pull on off the HRR, and we'll load the current version of this. I think we're probably a little behind. So let's see. Yeah, we've got the 14Z HRR, and let's see what it does. It's going to show here. Let me go to our other display, and we're going to see this kind of pull through here toward the rest of the afternoon, and you can see it sort of just this disturbance is coming in, and it's creating a little bit of lift, and it moves on out. So nothing too major here. Snowfall accumulation map. Again, we're going to look at the latest run of that, and so we'll put that into motion. These little blue shades here, really less than an inch, somewhere around a quarter of an inch, and little tiniest spot right in here, you can see it's a little bit more, so maybe a half an inch in some spots where the heavier bands line up. So that's that. Now, if we take a look at our hazards map, we're going to flip back over here to another display, and we can see much. You don't kind of get the sense of this by looking at this map, but there's much less activity going on across the country precipitation wise. A lot of hazards remain in effect. Most of these are cold air alerts, extreme cold warnings where it's been super duper cold. Will continue to be that way. Many reports of below zero temperature readings. As a matter of fact, I think it was Willow City that got down to 34 degrees below zero today. That was the nation's low, in fact. And so that's up in North Dakota, about right in here. And so very cold temperatures in here. Let's see what it was. It was called, Willow City, North Dakota. So Willow City up in North Dakota is up along the Canadian border. Very cold. I think there was another town in Nebraska, maybe Gordon, just close to Gordon, that also hit the same temperature. So extremely cold air temperatures, wind chills in the minus 40s and 50s, and very cold here. Cold advisories out in these little light blue areas all the way across. And we've got winter weather advisories for that light snow that's moving through this morning, with potential for impacting travel, and then some remaining winter storm warnings for a couple of more inches of snow, probably wrapping up now in eastern Kentucky and western Virginia. Probably some slick travel in some of these spots here where the snow fell in earnest over the course of the last couple of days. And so that's how that all shakes out. Now, here's our surface map. Nothing too scary on our surface map. You know, that little upper level lows right here in the north, really the northwestern portion of South Carolina. That's going to rapidly move east through the day. Our storm system yesterday's pulling off. We've got this cold front that separates the really bitter Arctic air that's coming in with the courtesy of these strong 1043 high pressures. High air, as you know, flows counterclockwise around low pressures and clockwise around high pressures. And so we've got big high pressure funneling in cold Arctic air, and then we've got a little bit of a milder, if you can call this milder, conditions along the western third of the nation. And we can see just how cold it is. We'll get to that. Satellite picture, nothing too major here on the satellite picture. We'll put this into motion. Again, just some high clouds. The cool thing is, you see this area here. So you've got, this is an infrared satellite picture, and you can see these clouds moving as they come on through, the high clouds associated with this. And some of these little lighter whites, they're lower clouds, but the higher cloud tops have brighter colors because they're colder. This satellite looks at, it measures temperature essentially. And so it's looking at the cloud tops, and it's seeing very cold cloud tops out here. When you get thunderstorms building way up into the atmosphere, you get these big anvil tops that extend 30, 40, 50,000 feet up, and they're very cold. You see this a lot of times in hurricanes. They're very tall in the atmosphere. But where these blues and purples are, these are cold temperatures at the ground. So this illustrates just how cold this temperature is. It's even showing up on the satellite image. And so, you know, that's what we've got here. So I wanted you to see that because I thought that was kind of neat. Now, this is our temperature map. This, folks, is an Arctic invasion, a technical meteorological term when Arctic air flows into the United States. And that's what we're seeing here, an Arctic invasion. We've not done a good job protecting our border up here from the Arctic air. So maybe we need to get on that. Maybe we can send HARP out there to do something for us. But in any event, we've got Arctic air plunging into the lower 48. I'm going to refresh this map. I think it probably already refreshes itself, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so we can see that this is the actual wind chill temperatures. And if we zoom in here, let's take a look at some of these. So Bismarck minus 24. I show Bismarck a lot because it's, you know, very cold up here. Minot 24. These are where the coldest readings are. Again, let's see if we zoom in here, we can take a look. Look at this. Willow Spring. Is that up here somewhere? Where is it? I don't see it right here. It takes a while for these little cities to pop up. But in any event, here, we'll get back out. We'll zoom back out. Look at Canada up here. Very cold air up in Canada. And we'll come back out and again, this is plunging in the lower 48. Kansas City at minus 11, wind chill. If we look at the actual temperatures, that's why it's so dangerous. These wind chills are dropping down in, minus 30s, minus 50. So we've got actual temperatures 8 in Bismarck, Sioux Falls, -1, Omaha, -1. And then it warms up all the way to 14 as we get over into Louisville. So teens and 20s and 31 at Charlotte. Not going to get warm at all today. It's going to stay in the 30s for the most part in this area here. Maybe a little bit warmer down as we get into Florida. Texas, very cold. Those extreme cold warnings extend all the way down. It's not it's not below zero down here, but it's still very, very cold, anomalously cold for this area. And you guys in the South, all of us in the South really aren't prepared for single digits and low teens to occur all that often. And so that's why these cold alerts are in place. And you can see the milder air over here, 40s and up along and down the coast, 50s down here in the deserts out west. It's a little bit warmer, south of Phoenix. And so that's our temperature profile. And we'll expect this as we go forward over the next couple of days. Here we'll go to our tropical tidbits display. We're looking at tropical tidbits. So how does that temperature shake out? So here's what's going to happen. So these are going to go in this way. If I pull this forward, this is current. Look at that Arctic air up in Canada just is plunging in, and over time that sort of starts to abate. But the next couple of days are going to be cold across the entire nation, and that's going to change though in a big way as we get on into next week. But look here, 30s and 40s along the Gulf, 20s, teens, zeros, below zero, up into the northern portion, especially the northern plains, the Great Lakes area in the Northeast over time, 48 hours out. So this is overnight on February the 20th, tonight, well, not tonight, but tomorrow night. And then we get on into Saturday and roll this out to Sunday. We're starting to warm up. So you see those temperatures becoming less and less extreme. And then we get on into a pattern where we start to get a little return flow. That milder air that we've been expecting starts to take over the nation. Still got a little wedging along the East Coast. That's going to break out by February the 24th. So that's next Monday. We start to see this really rebound. So you start to see 60s coming up all along the South and up into just ahead out into the plains here and back into the desert Southwest. So nice little break before more colder weather is set to come back in. And so we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. But before we do that, we have a word from a new sponsor. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages. Here at Cold Rain's Weather World, we're a small upstart operation and we're growing. But to grow, we need sponsorship. Sponsorship in the form of sponsors, private equity investments, or even outside investor groups. So today I'm proud to announce a new sponsor for Cold Rain's Weather World, and that sponsor is Linus Math Academy. Do you frequently have trouble making change? Does leaving a tip in the tip jar cause you undue stress? Do you routinely freeze up at the coin laundry? Or are you experiencing penny panic? Then stop wasting time with second-rate math schools that just don't add up and check out Linus Math Academy. At Linus, we deliver twice the results in a fraction of the time while increasing our profits and reducing your savings. We can help with anything. Having trouble stopping the gas pump right on the dollar? Well, we can make sense of that. Taking too long to figure out that discount at the grocery store? Well, we'll cut your time by 50%. That take a penny tray at the convenience store driving you nuts? No problem. And what about that CVS receipt? You're probably still reading it. Well, at Linus, we'll integrate all of that into a solution set that works for you. Simply give us a call for a semi-free assessment today, and then sign up for one of our customized plans starting at just, well, what do you care? Can't add anyway. So if you're in an acute mathematical crisis, call Linus Math Academy today. Our obtuse instructors are standing by. Linus Math Academy. We're here to solve your problem. Thank you, Linus. Maybe you can help me with my Kohl's receipt. I've never been to a place where you can spend $5 and save $10,000. That's a good business model. Thank you, Linus. This is a breaking news alert from Cold Rain's Weather World. In the interest of unity, I am issuing an executive proclamation that on this show, this body of water from this hour henceforth shall be known as the Gulf of Cold Rain. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. So now we're going to take a look at the next 7 days, and then we'll wrap up with a look at the longer range period. We're going to start with our 300 millibar jet stream. Energy in the atmosphere that creates precipitation, clouds, and disturbed weather is carried along in the jet stream. And as you can see here, we've got a fairly active jet pattern running right through the southern part of the United States. And if we roll this into motion, pay attention, particularly out west. Look what happens here. This begins to pull off to the east, and pay attention to the northern portions here of the United States, the Pacific Northwest, and watch what happens. We get this onslaught of energy just coming in, wave after wave after wave. A few days ago, we looked at this big jet out here in the Pacific. I'm not showing the hemispheric view, so you don't see the whole thing, but you can see this nosing in, and it looked like this thing was just going to crash into the United States, and it's not really doing that. It's sort of pointed down in this direction, but little pieces of energy are still embedded within the main flow, and they're breaking off, and they're pulling in one after another right into the Pacific Northwest. And so as a meteorologist, that means something. As a person that just sort of watches the weather, that might not mean very much. But I'm going to show you what it means so that you can understand this. And you can also see here too, you may have missed this as we were talking about Pacific Northwest, but look at this. We've got a northern branch of the jet up here and an active southern branch down here. So we're going to need to watch as we go over time, particularly beyond the next 7 days, to see how these branches might interact and what the configuration of the ridge trough coupling is across the country, and to see if we get any sort of disturbances out of this that would bring precipitation to the U.S. and particularly the southeast with this active subtropical jet. So let's take a look here. Just roll that on forward, and you can kind of see that play out. We get this big dip down here. When you start to see dips in the jet stream, that's where you start to get activity and storm formation and all of that good stuff. So that's your jet analysis. Now we'll take a look at the surface map, and this is the European model, the Europeans' depiction of what's going to happen. It's going to be really a quiet week, it looks like. We've finally settled down into, got all the snow and big storms behind us. You can see that storm moving on off up here to the northeast, the one that just affected the southeast. And so pay attention to the Pacific Northwest. You're going to see not very much. You have a little lake effect snow here, a little activity in the mountains area, the Rockies, but watch this as we get on in to Saturday, Sunday. Really start to see precipitation pick up in earnest across Seattle, Oregon, Portland, and those areas in the northern Cascades. And so look at this, rain and snow in the higher elevations, more rain coming in, more rain coming in, more rain coming in. It just keeps on coming, folks. And we're going to pile up the rain out there in those areas. That's week 1. This continues on into week 2. So we're really going to stack up those rainfall and snowfall totals in the higher peaks out in the Pacific Northwest. But you've seen as we've gone through, everything else is quiet, so not very much activity. This just sort of comes in here, and you have some remnants of that kind of skirt along the upper portions of the United States, but a pretty quiet pattern. Now, looking at the Europeans' rainfall totals, we're going to run this out over the entire this is a 0Z run from last night. We're going to run this out over the entire 2-week period. So if we roll this forward, look at this. This is the precipitation totals, QPF. We learned about that yesterday. And so that's what this map is showing, precipitation total. Look at this. Big totals up here in the higher peaks, in the mountains and the little hills here in the Pacific Northwest. And you'll see those rainfall totals just continue to stack. So around Seattle, you're looking at 3, 4, 5 inches of rain by the time all of this is said and done. Portland, about the same in the low country. Really looking at 2 to 5 inches in these sort of red areas here. And more precipitation. The mountains tend to create additional lift, so you get these localized peaks of 6, 10 inches, 15 inches of rain or precipitation. Much of that's going to be in the form of snow. So there's going to be feet of snow out here in the Cascades. And so that's how the weather will play out for the Pacific Northwest. Here's your snowfall totals. Look at this, off the charts, 48 inches plus out in some of these areas. In the northern Rockies, you're seeing, pretty significant snowfall out here too. Probably we'll end up having some avalanche warnings that occur with all of the snow here. So taking a look at the longer range pattern, it's just really quiet over the next week, so nothing really to dig into too much there. We've looked at this the last couple of days. Few days ago, we had a big ridge in the east out here in the long range and a big trough in the west. It looks more like we're going to see as we go out in time, and I'm just going to run this all the way forward here. This is the European ensemble from 0Z last night. And I say 0Z, the Weather Service uses Zulu times to communicate information so that people can kind of convert to their own time zone. If you start saying 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, what does that mean? What time zone are you in? So they use Zulu time or Greenwich Mean Time as a standard, and that's what you see on these maps with this 18Z and all of that. And you convert that. If you're on the East Coast, it's 5 out. They're 5 hours ahead, so you have to subtract 5 to get to where we are here. So this is a Thursday morning, what we're looking at here. Big trough comes back in not this Thursday morning, but 186 hours out. This is Thursday the 27th, one day after my birthday. What does my birthday look like? Let's check it out. It's the 26th. It's going to be mild on my birthday. Yuck. Okay, well, whatever. Happy birthday. Let's go here on out to the 27th, 28th. Big trough in the eastern part of the country, little ridge going up out west. And then the signal sort of starts to get muted here a little bit. We still see general troughing through the country. So I would expect to see, when I start to look at my temperature maps, I would expect to see cooler weather here under these blue anomalies and warmer weather out here. The flow is kind of flat coming in. To get really, really cold, and as we get into late February, early March, if you want to start getting snow across the south, you need really cold anomalies, really cold temperatures, colder than average. Not just a couple of degrees, but quite a few degrees below average. And so what you want to see to support that is a big ridge coming up. We saw this yesterday, so this big ridge coming up out west and then dumping cold over into the east out of the Arctic. And this is sort of muted, but you still have this general trough in the central and eastern part of the country. So I would expect cooler weather here. The GFS ensemble kind of agrees, so we're not going to waste time showing it. But take a look here at the 850 millibar temperatures. We're going to start it here at hour 0, because you can see this big Barney. We talked about Barney yesterday. So Barney is invading. This is called an Arctic intrusion. We talked about that before. So the Arctic has invaded the lower 48. Barney is running roughshod over the central part and the eastern part of the country. We want to kick Barney out and warm up a little bit, and that's what's going to happen. So these blue and green anomalies start to die out over time. We get out on into Monday and Tuesday of next week. Look at this, boom, big ridge going up out west and funneling in warm air. Ridging really takes place across much of the country, and so you start to get these orange and reds. That's above normal temperatures. Now that dies out, as we saw in the upper air chart earlier. That sort of dies out as you get more troughing starting to develop, and you start to get some green anomalies. I don't see Barney coming back, but we certainly see these green anomalies start to take over. Again, magnitudes above or below average. And we get on out here into 10 days. This is March the 3rd. And we roll that forward out to the end of the period, so looking at March the 7th. And things start to get unreliable when you get out to date 8, 9, 10, and beyond, generally speaking. If we look at pattern recognition and understand some of the larger elements impacting the pattern, it would seem to support cooler weather, particularly over the eastern part of the country, but there's no guarantees for any of that. But when we understand the larger elements of the pattern, and then we couple that with what we're seeing here on these models, we have a little bit of a higher confidence, even though we do see confidence, the risk of error increase over time. So that's it. That wraps up our weather roundup today. We'll be back here in a minute with the answer to today's trivia question, so stay right there. So that'll just about do it for the show today. We're going to end with our trivia question as always. And our question is, what is a haboob? A type of intense dust storm, a small tornado, a heat wave, or a butte couplet? Well, the answer is a type of intense dust storm. The word haboob comes from the Arabic word hab, which means to blow. It is used to describe a violent dust storm, and now you know. And with that, that is a wrap for today, folks. I hope you all have a great afternoon. If you're seeing snowflakes fly, enjoy them. It is a beautiful sunny day here in Morganton, North Carolina, not a cloud in the sky. So hope you enjoy the weather. And as always, if you didn't like the weather you saw today, there's another model out there somewhere with better weather on it. It's your job to go and find it. Take care. Bye.